I'm back with Act 3 of Parliament of Owls by Sidang. Now, last time we finished after covering Act 2, and I want to inform you something about Act 3. I hope you've already pressed the subscribe bell. You also had the notification on so that in case I post anything on oral literature, poetry, or the discussions on texts, then you'll be the first person to see that. I am Madam Twenje, and I'm here to talk about Act 3 of Parliament of Owls. Now, in Act 3, the synopsis and the first episode is the fall of Arum Tidi. It is sunset after morning of the death of Arum Tidi, and Ochongorio, Osogo, and Tel are gathering around the Arum Tidi's grave. He has been buried, and Osogo plays a mournful tune, a low tune. Ochongoro feels that she is fighting a losing battle because Owls are too powerful, but Osogo encourages Ochongoro to remain optimistic. Ochongoro laments that Arum Tidi's death was such a sad one and wonders why the royal Owls should kill him. We have the second episode, Moneybag, as a suspect. Telltale says that Moneybag never forgets and forgives if wronged, and therefore, as a powerful animal, he further says that royal owls highly trust Moneybag. He was the royal owl's blue-eyed bird during the struggle for freedom. Telltale reveals that Arum Tidi has leaked confidential information to parrots about secretive activities that the kingdom has been conducting, and this one has infuriated Moneybags. Osogo says that he has seen Arum Tidi having a deep talk with Little P a few days before the massacre had happened. As we proceed, we realize that we have the third episode that comes to us, and that is the Snake Saga. Telltale recounts that there are times when snakes have invaded their nests, that these snakes do not just come coincidentally, but they are brought by the owls so that they can steal eggs. And the plan currently of the law wants to have them attacked more. Osogo seeks the service of Chunglo, the ant, and he came with his army who chased the snakes away. Moneybag did not buy the idea because Oyundi never sought clearance from police owl. That is page 66. We get on with Ochongoro sarcastically saying that once they've had fleshy characters, the carcass of Arum Tidi, that he could go and make noise at his own reflection. Osogo hopes that the vultures are not planning to exhume the body of Arum Tidi, and it would be a disgrace. That is on page 67. Little P enters, and Osogo calls her a corrupt parrot who works with the owls, and therefore he wants to undermine the day birds. If you look at page 67, you will see this. Now we have the next episode, which is the scandal of the Rotten Kingdom. Little P says that he has information that Arum Tidi had a serious scandal implicating moneybags, which was the foreshadow about the death of Arum Tidi. Telltale says that the kingdom is rotten to the core. As shown on page 70, the law of the bird protection gives the royal trees the power to search all the nests and possibly steal the eggs, as well as even kill their children. Osogo says that the owls are rioting, and Little P says that there is a party. The Parliament of Owls has a night party on page 70. The next episode is the sycophants at the gravesite. The hooting of owls is heard near the grave of Arum Tidi. We see that birds scamper into hiding because they don't want to be caught. The police all comes and goes to Arum Tidi's grave and comes out singing a song of joy. Redstring comes to the inn while drunk, while Little P takes out her camera and secretly takes pictures of this. That is shown on page 70 to 71. We see Redstring in a drunken manner pretending to mourn Arum Tidi, but we understand that Even if he says that Arum Tidi killed himself, that is not true. Blackstring tells Redstring that the royal owl was about to arrive. Redstring seems to have heard the sound of the bird, but Blackstring dismisses the information. We go on to the next episode, which is the empty appraisal. Moneybags welcomes King Tula Nyongoro, a royal owl, by praising him. He says that the royal owl is the master owl, and the master owl is the city owl, and the city owl is an owl who is monumental. So see all those praises. It is just to welcome the royal owl as they celebrate the passing of the Moonlight Bill. Now that happens on page 72. The royal owl declares that Arum Tidi shall be the hero celebrated for years because he was quite loyal to them. Arum Tidi EBH, elder of the beautiful horn, as shown on page 72. The socialite owl is ordered by Moneybag to leave since he was not invited into the meeting. The royal owl begins to, sing the freedom song, and other owls join on page 73. Redstrings, though drunk, addresses the gathering of the night birds. He says that the moonlight law is for greater good of the community, and every bird should stand and respect that law. He further tells Little P to report that Blackstring, a Greenstring, and himself will be honored in the most prestigious awards in the kingdom. The OMD, Order of the Most Digital Eyes, and EMS, the L of the Most Significant Hood, happens on page 76. We move on to Iron Lady entering and dismissing the awards, while Telltale and others hiding the birds, feeling excited that they have seen her. She warns Redstring against gagging the press. She is thrown out by the police, all on page 77. We have hopelessness in Telltale. Telltale is in a hopeless situation because Oyundi was arrested that evening and that she pleaded amnesty. She was to be appointed as and to be in charge of simplifying the complex laws today. Oyundi comes in. Telltale is shocked and stands in the foot of Arum Tidi's grave and addresses the grave, telling Arum Tidi to rest in peace. Little P wants to ask questions, but she's ordered to leave while taking photos of Redstring and Oyundi, who later goes away. Ochongro acts as the speaker of the flock of birds in the parliament, having passed the Sunshine Bill in presence of all birds. Later in the play, the police all comes in and plants Telltale down and handcuffs her. She is led away to the court of law. Redstring laughs very much, telling Telltale that she will have to tell the tale of Telltales, as shown on page 84. The thematic concerns in this act, which is quite short, include betrayal. Arum Tidi has been buried for having been killed by the owls. He was loyal to them, and they had shown trust in him. Telltale says that Arum Tidi had leaked confidential information to the parrots and on activities about the kingdom, as shown on page 64 and 65. Moneybags shortchanges vultures and crows by passing the bird protection law and secretly awarding the tender to the Olik Tiger, and also given citizenships, as shown on page 68 and 69. We also see that there is bad governance. Why bad governance? Bad governance comes as a result of the decision to have a law that protects the royal trees and has birds warranted to check, we have owls checking the nests. Olik Tiger is searching the nests any time of the day. Telltale also recounts that there are times the snakes will invade the nest, and sometimes they'll have to steal their eggs. We have another theme of suffering and intimidation. Ochongoro thinks that they are fighting a losing battle because owls are too powerful and there is nothing they can do. Ochongoro also remains hopeful that since he had undergone a lot of suffering at the hands of the royal owls, he cannot do much. Moneybags declares that Oyundi is an enemy of the Parliament of Oz because he has a role in kicking the snakes out of the nest, to outdo the plan of hooting and looting on page 69. We have character and characterization. Moneybags is quite vengeful. He kills Arum Tidi. Moneybags never forgets and forgives, as shared in the text. He also declares Oyundi as an enemy because he never sought permission from the police oaths in procuring services of the Ochunglo. Ochongorio is critical because he realized that Arum Tidi had been working with the Nightbirds before and wonders why they have killed him on page 64. Ochongoro is quite critical when he tells Telltale to expound more about the issue at hand on page 64. He's cynical also because he does not understand the Hornbill situation when he was about to fight his own reflection on page 67. Osogo is hopeful. He's hopeful that regardless of what the power of the owls, there is a hope ahead. Osogo insists that they are only left with hope and nothing else, as shown on page 79. He's quite hateful. She is quite hateful. She hates vultures for being scavengers, as shown on page 67. She's quite wise. She resorts to hiring the services of Ochungla, the ant who came with his army to chase the snakes from their nests, as shown on page 66. Telltale is quite inquisitive, questions Osogo about what she had just said about being hopeful, as shown on page 63. She is quite smart, figures out that Moneybags' plots, which were to organize a raid and create insecurity in the Bird's kingdom, were not suitable, as shown on page 66. And he's also sarcastic because he says that Hornbills are fighting their own reflections, as shared on page 67. There is a Little P who is very wise. Little P is quick to justify that she is there out of her own self-interest and not the bird's eye view, as shown on page 68. She queries Red String about Arum Tidi's death, connecting the two, as shown on page 78. She is also manipulative. She manipulates Red String to provide more information about the agenda that night by playing around with her looks, as shown on page 75. Red String is also pretentious because comes morning for Arum Tidi, yet he is known to have killed Arum Tidi. He's sarcastic. Red String mocks Arum Tidi for fighting his own reflection to death on page 71. He is also hypocritical, pretends to heap praise on Arum Tidi for his eloquence and the gift of gab, yet he killed him, as shown on page 74 to 75. We also have him as intimidating. Red String intimidates Little P by telling him, dictating to her what she has broadcasted to the network. We also see that somehow Red String is authoritative. He orders Little P to be ejected of that place by commanding Paul All to do so. Oyundi is scheming a laser plot with Ogila Nyagarodo the previous day on how they will overthrow the Alls, page 82. The themes that are available here, we have bad governance. The killing of Arum Tidi displays cruelty that is meted on the citizens in this society, that leaders are ready to kill the animals who are against them or in some way whom they have already used, as shown on page 70. Red String, Moneybags, and the Royal all come to Arum Tidi's grave to celebrate the passing of the Moonlight Bill, while other animals will suffer, page 74 to 75. There is hypocrisy. The Royal all visits Arum Tidi's grave pretending to mourn his death, yet in reality there is a celebration over that death. We also see the theme of fear. The theme of fear comes as owls have a lot of fear about the owls and they hide. We have nepotism, where the royal owl is rewarded with a for sycophancy. We have dictatorship, where the red string is a dictatorial bird of all the birds. We have selfishness, where every animal defends their interests. Like red string says, the royal owl have declared Moneybags to run the intelligence system since he had cosmic eyes. He also signs partnership deals with the reptiles to sit in the kingdom's highest decision-making organ. Moneybag was also in control of movement of daybirds and all that. Move to the thematic concerns in Act 3. And this is what I have. The first theme I have is bad governance. Bad governance comes when Arum Tidi is killed. Why is he killed? It's out of having had a quarrel with Moneybags. So Moneybags as a leader doesn't feel like Arum Tidi should continue living when he's kind of showing some opposition to the leadership of the owls. Therefore, he has to die, and that is what happens on page 70. A number of birds suspect that his death was not natural. We have another theme of hypocrisy. Hypocrisy comes when the royal owls visit Arum Tidi's grave and they pretend to be mourning. They even crown him with honor, an award, EBH, Elder of the Beautiful Horn. Yet, we know very well as readers that they had killed him. When you look at page 72, you will see how hypocritical the animals are, just like most leaders are in our general setting. You find that sometimes somebody has died, and obviously you suspect that there is somebody in government who did that, and possibly they know, but they go for the funeral. Sometimes they have even to pay some amounts and even buy the best coffin, and that's what we see in Parliament of Owls, Act 3. There is the theme of fear. Fear, because owls have instilled a lot of fear in other birds, and they really fear that their safety is at stake. So they scamper to safety into hiding when they see that the owls come to the grave of Arum Tidi, as seen on page 72. We also meet the theme of oppression. Oppression comes when Telltale is arrested and the police owl handcuffs her. The police owl reads the arrest code telling her that she is under arrest and anything she says will be used against her in the court of law. Red String laughs, telling Telltale that she will have a tale to tell to the other Telltales. That is page 84. We also meet resistance and revolution. Oyundi starts at the foot of Arum Tidi's grave and stands there and mourns, knowing that he died because of the struggle against the owls. She addresses daybirds that this is the time they have to rise and take back their kingdom, or else they'll have to suffer. And he calls upon other birds to unite, as shown on page 82 to 83. We have treachery or deceit, kind of. As I shared earlier, the aspect of hypocrisy. Oyundi realized that she has not found Telltale, yet she is talking to her and other birds and lies that she is rehearsing a poem, when in reality we know that there is no celebration for the royal owl here. All that they are doing is to boycott and turn against the Parliament of Owls, as shown on page 81. We have dictatorship, whereby Red String is a dictator, and he declares that all birds must observe the moonlight law, regardless of whether they want or not, and if they violate it, they are going to be arrested. All the birds are expected to be in their nests at a particular time, unless they are owls or night birds that have been appointed by the royal owl, as shown on page 72. We also see selfishness. Selfishness comes when Moneybags takes all the various positions in the government. Red String says that the royal owl had declared Moneybags to run the intelligence system since he had cosmic eyes and seek alliance with the Lion Kingdom, as shown on page 78. We also see that there is a partnership that is being signed with the reptiles so that they can sit in the kingdom and make high decisions, whatever high decisions mean. just like in our situation of human beings, we have people who are selected to decide on laws and all that. And when they make decisions, they don't care whether the decisions will affect the common citizen. Money back was also to control the movement of all day birds and night birds, as shown on page 78. You know, when you control the movement of a human being, you can imagine, remember the time of Corona, you've affected everything, the social, political, and economic situation. And that's what is happening in Parliament of Alls. Moneyback was also supposed to make policies and advise the royal all. Tula Nyongoro on page 78. Now, we can come to the styles in Act 3, the first style being flashback. Osogo reflects on the day he was heading home and spotted Little P with Arum Tidi, and they were in a deep conversation. He suspects that maybe through this conversation, that is where the Arum Tidi became an enemy of the government, possibly having revealed the secrets that they had. That is shown on page 65. Telltale and Osogo reminisce on the day the snakes were invading their nests, and they had to sought the help of Ochunglo, the ants, on page 66. We have also Telltale narrating about how vultures had secretly funded a protest, as shown on page 65. We also have a style of imagery, and under imagery, as I said earlier, I normally bring around vivid description where it is, symbolism and other aspects. And within this act, we have symbolism and vivid description. For example, the place that Osogo, Ochonguru, and Telltale meet is described clearly in the text. Arum Tidi was buried also, the place where he was buried, and at sunset, as shown on page 63. Symbolism comes when we are told of the golden bead, that is a symbol of power and control over all birds, night birds, and day birds, as shown on page 84. We then have sarcasm. The royal owl is sarcastic about honoring Arum Tidi when he has died with an EBH. We see this honoring is not really genuine, and through hypocrisy that is shown, we realize that indeed that is what you can face if you are a kind of person who is being used. At some point, you'll be used and dumped. We have Red String, who is sarcastic also by telling Oyundi that they are going to teach how to hoot, which is not possible because she is not an owl after all. Page 18. We have humor. Iron Lady is quite humorous when she criticizes the night birds for their selfishness by reserving the meanings of their abbreviations. We find it humorous because now Iron Lady is part of the Parliament of Owls, and that critic, makes us laugh when we see that comment as shown on page 77. So that is the end of Act 3. I really urge you to keep subscribing, viewing, and sharing the aspects of Parliament of Alls and all other texts that we are continually posting on Edutainment for Us. You are free to also give critique on whatever you think is not right, add value, because that is what will make literature grow. As we always say, literature is not a narrow lane, it's a broad lane, and we have diverse perspectives. I might be using one ideological reasoning, and you have a different one that will give us other realizations in the text. Bye bye for now, and let's meet in the next episode where we'll be discussing Act 4 of Parliament of Alls.